How's it going, guys? Chris here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to assemble your Pikachu Monkey D. Luffy Pokeball after you're done printing. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so the first thing that we're going to do for this build is we're going to take our top piece with this square on it, and then we're going to take our two top halves of the hat. We're just going to hold these together and push this on the head and line this up so that way everything sits nice and flush. So here we don't need any glue right now. What we're going to actually do is we're going to take these two rings, and inside of the rings, if you look, there's a cutout there. So right here. Here's a big cutout, and here is a smaller cutout. Think big bottom. The big cutout is going to be on the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this flat portion be on top and the rounded portion on the bottom. And we're going to take this with the cutout facing the left side of the Pokeball, and we're just going to push this on. So we'll just keep going around. And with that in nice and flat, it's going to hold our hat halves together. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our other part of the ring, and where we have this cutout here, so where we have that cutout, we're going to flip it over and drop this cutout on top of the other one, and they will line up. So now with that on there, we have everything nice and lined up on our hat. All right, so with these red rings on our hat, I just wanted to show you how it really does stay together as one piece. It's nice and tight, no pun intended. Now with that, you can use some glue in between the cracks if you want, but you really shouldn't need to. So the next thing we're gonna do now is we're gonna take our ear pieces, and we're just gonna take the black tips that go with it and just line them up and push those black tips onto the ears. And then with these ear tips on, this is where we're going to need our first bit of glue. We're going to take some glue and glue these ears into their channels. When you do so, we want to make sure that these ears sit in nicely, but we also want to make sure that the black is slanted down. If we put it in backwards, that black is kind of slanted up, and we want to make sure that's not how we're putting it in. We want to make sure that those ears have the black slanted down. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put some glue in here, pop these in, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so with our hat fully assembled, what we're going to do now is we're going to take our clicker core and put our clicker in. If you're not using the clicker core, just take the non-clicker core. And we're going to put that into the bottom half first and twist. With that locked in, I'm now going to take my center piece, it doesn't matter what side you use, and just drop that in. And once that's on, I'm going to take my top half, push it in the center, and twist those together. Now everything is nice and locked. So from here, you can put the hat on, and the hat will actually sit on there nice and tight, but it's up to you guys. If you want to use glue to make sure that this thing doesn't come off, go ahead and use some glue underneath in this square just to make sure nothing comes apart. All right, so looking at our little pile of pieces here, the next thing that I'm going to grab is these red cheeks. So I'm just going to put some glue in these center spots right here. And I'm going to take these red cheeks. They're both the exact same piece, so it doesn't matter which side you put it in. And I'm just going to push these into position. And now I'll just wait for that to dry, and we'll put in the next pieces. All right, so the next piece that we're going to put in here now is going to be his scar. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right here in the center. And now we're going to put the scar in. So we want to take the shorter pieces, and they're going to go towards the top. But if you're not lining it up properly, just keep turning it around until it goes in and push that piece in. And once that's in nice, we'll move on to the next piece. All right, so the next piece that we're going to put in is going to be his eye scar. So I'm going to take that eye scar. I'm going to drop just a little bit of glue in that channel. And with that glue in there, I'm going to take the scar. So just line it up properly, find the position, push it in, and we now have his eye scar in. All right, so next we're going to look to the back of the Pokeball, and you're going to see these two cutouts for your brown lines. Depending on the version of the Pokeball that you print, so the one with the vest or the one without, you'll also have an option for the tail here on the Pokeball that doesn't have the vest, so you'll have a hole there as well. In this case, we're going to take some glue, and we're going to put this glue into the channels here. And we're going to take our brown lines and we're going to push these in, and just make sure that you're putting them in so that way they line up on the right position and the right angle. So this one goes in on the top. And if I look at this guy, make sure it lines up right. Make sure you're putting it in the right direction. So I actually have to flip this one. So this goes upside down. And then go ahead, push this guy in. And now I have both of my brown lines in the back of the Pokeball. So next we're going to move to the front. So if you printed the version with the vest and the jacket, you will be taking your vest pieces. So I already have one put in here. We'll be taking these gold little button pieces and we'll be lining these up and pushing them into the gold button slots on the vest. So these are really tiny. Just make sure you're lining them up right and pushing them in. So it looks like I have it upside down. All right, so I've got 2 out of 3. I'll get my last button on my vest, line it up, push it in, and now my vest piece has all of its buttons. So once you have all of the buttons on the vest, just take some glue here, drop it into the channel. Now his vest with buttons goes on the left side of him, and the vest piece without buttons goes on the right side of him. So just push those in, hold that there, wait for the glue to dry, and once the glue has dried, we'll move on to the next piece. All right, so the next pieces that we're gonna put together here are the button and the clicker. So we're gonna take our button and put it on that clicker stem and slide that on. Then with the pieces left and right, not top to bottom, we're gonna slide this clicker piece into the middle and just push it in. We now have our button in place. I'll then take my button ring and pay attention to the tab here. That tab is going to slide into one of the sides here depending on the direction that you put the center ring. So I'm going to look for the side with the cutout, and it's over here. So I'm going to drop that button ring right into that cutout. Then I'm just going to turn it a little sideways and push it into position. So let me just make sure I'm lining it back up right and just click it in. It's now clicked in after that little snap. And now just move your button around and it will click. All right, so we're almost done assembling our Pikachu, Monkey D. Luffy Pokeball. So now we're just gonna take our tail pieces and we're gonna put just a little bit of glue here on the parts that connect on the tail. And we're just gonna push our 2 halves together. So we also wanna make sure that both sides that are printed on the bed are gonna line up together. And with both of those lined up, we'll just hold that, wait for that glue to dry, and our tail should look something like this. All right, so we're now gonna take the Emperor Black Jacket here, and we're gonna put some glue in the tail channel. And then with that, we're gonna take the brown piece of our tail, and we're gonna push this into the channel, and that should lock the tail in place. So with that, we'll let that dry, and then we'll assemble the final pieces. All right, guys, so with your 2 Pokeball halves done, you can either just take this guy and just sit him in the jacket, and the jacket acts like a stand, and you can just leave it there. Or if you guys want, put a little bit of glue inside the stand and drop the Pokeball in, so that way this whole thing stays together as one piece. So if you guys have any comments or questions, be sure to leave those down below or reach out on Discord, and I'll be sure to answer any questions you have there. But thanks for printing, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to also leave a boost on Maker World, it goes a long way. And in the meantime, happy printing.